Good morning. Honorable ministers coming in. Thank you. Media colleagues, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Professor Mthuli Ncube, called you to this conversation, press conference if you may. He wants to make a statement about the budget. After his statement, then you can ask all relevant questions. So, Honorable Minister, the floor is yours. That's your media. Maybe let's start with introductions. Of course.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Of course, in the middle is the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Professor Mthuli Ncube. And who is the man on his left? Right, rather? That's the Deputy Minister of Finance, newly appointed.
Chidua.
I didn't know the first name, Honorable Chidua. So he's the Deputy Minister of Finance, and of course, we know the guy with the imposing figure or stature, P.S. Wamatanga. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Maybe you may need to raise your voice because we have no mics, and as you know, we've got a full house.
Colleagues, good morning. I think I have to say, colleagues, good morning. I see the Deputy Ambassador, the China President, could be other people that I recognize, but I recognize half of you, which is a good thing. Thank you very much. You know, colleagues, we would like to do this once every month from now on. If you recall, we've started, then we slowed down, so we've been missing you. So we decided to resume, and we thought that, look, it's best to do it when we just presented the budget. So what we wanted to do really was to, again, go over the highlights of the budget to show the shift in direction, and then we can have a Q&A after that. We'll keep going this for the next 12 months, at least once a month. And that's the first point. Secondly, we are also meeting with some of the editors. Met a few weeks ago. We'll meet again so we can keep the conversation with the media going. We can you have the opportunity to ask and interact with us on various issues regarding the economy. Colleagues, let me begin by saying that we started off by launching the Transitional Stabilization Program on the 4th of October 2018, and here we are just over a year later. We've implemented quite a bit of what we set out to implement in that TSP program. Out of that TSP strategy, we crafted the budget for 2019, which is built around the theme of austerity and prosperity. I must say that in terms of what we wanted to achieve, then was basically to lower the budget deficit substantially. That was a target. Secondly, to lower the current account deficit substantially. That was the second target. The third target was to say that once we've achieved those, then we now have better conditions for us to reintroduce a domestic currency. Let me just go over those three areas once again. So in terms of the budget deficit, I'm happy to say that we're able to reduce that quite substantially. Between January and August this year, we're able to be in a savings position. But of course, from September towards December, again, we're going to deficit. But I can assure you that the deficit, as I explained during the budget presentation, will be well within our target of 4% of GDP. How was that achieved in terms of fiscal consolidation? We achieved that through both expenditure containment as well as more efficient revenue collection. In terms of expenditure containment, but also there was just some efficiency in the way we do things. I can assure you that today we have cleared all the bonuses that we promised to the civil servants. So civil servants know exactly when they get paid, when they get bonus, what it is. That has been restored. That certainty has been restored. In all of that fiscal consolidation, again, what we did, colleagues, was to make sure that we stop using the Reserve Bank window. Since January up to now, we have not utilized the Reserve Bank window. If you check on that window, that account is at zero. And that's what we set out to do. So all the exposure in the form of that $3 billion plus that was there in 2018 has all been converted into long-term dated paper with a duration of between 5 to 15 years. So we're walking the talk on everything that we said we would do. Coming to the current account, again, in the first half of the year, we again achieved a current account surplus position to match the budget deficit position. So both the external and the domestic deficits, or the twin deficits, were fully and well contained. Now, again, that has allowed us again to move to the third pillar, which is the monetary sector reforms, which, as you know, started in earnest on the 20th of February, with the introduction of the RTGS dollar and the interbank market. We moved to a market-determined exchange, albeit within a multi-currency regime. And then we proceeded on the 24th of June. We then introduced other reforms, which really formally introduced the Zimbabwe dollar as sole legal tender within our borders. But of course, you're still allowed to retain foreign currency in your pockets, under mattress, in your bank accounts. Those foreign currency accounts, they are yours. We don't want them. Keep them, please. We just want you to use the Zimbabwe dollar. We're happy that you have those US dollars in your bank account. They are yours. We don't want them. Okay. Then we proceeded again to deal with the cash situation, because we're acutely aware that the economy needs more cash for transaction purposes. And as of last Monday, we introduced additional cash into the system, and we will do more, as promised from the announcement and so on. So, colleagues, we've walked the talk on everything that we said we would do. We've done it even faster. And in my view, really all the large, big announcements and policy reforms are done. We've cleared all the big reforms. Two additional comments. You know, while doing all of this, we've been frankly unlucky. I think this is the classic definition of unlucky. Who gets a cyclone, not only one but two, all within a month, and then followed by a massive drought, all in the same year. So the cyclone Idai, cyclone Kenneth, and then the drought had a major impact on our economy, and they should not be underestimated. And the immediate part of the drought has both been direct in terms of agriculture output, but also indirect through the hydropower supply situation around the country. But we've still managed to ship quite well, to steer the ship in the midst of this massive external shock, which are really beyond our control. Now, going forward, having done, and you see, all I've highlighted was just really the kind of the macro issues. Going forward, we really want to again push ahead with the enterprise reform agenda, and now I'll segue into the budget for 2020. Why am I saying that? That we need to really push harder, because what we've achieved again, I think has been great in the sense that we've made major decisions regarding state enterprise reform. Whether they're looking at the rebundling possessor, whether they're looking at the again, partial privatization of both Net 1 and Tel 1 together as one package, whether they're looking at commercialization of allied timbers, the partial privatization of Willowville, Motors, the separation of the grain marketing board from its rigid grain reserve, from silo food industries. We have made those decisions, and it's commendable at a very high speed, very high speed. But we need to move to the next stage now, which is to find the right strategic partners for those state-owned enterprises where we need partners. We do need partners with capital, we need partners who can give us technology, partners who can even infuse skills and managerial skills. So we'll push harder on that agenda. Again, on the legislative agenda, I must say that going forward, we've made real progress. Now we have MOPA. POSA is gone. MOPA was crafted out of experiences around the world, from Kenya, from South Africa, from the UK, from the United States. So we used input from those countries in terms of how they deal with the water and so forth. Pick up MOPA, and the president signed it off, so it is now law. We've made progress. Now, in terms of the other big legislative agenda, it's about IPA. That is making progress. Parliament is considering the Freedom of Information Bill, and also the Media Commission Bill. There will be 3 bills in data protection bills and so forth. Those are key around IPA. And then there are other supportive legislative reforms around this Act, Citizenship Act, and so forth, which also form a nice package constellation around MOPA and IPA. Now, the segue into the budget for 2020. Now that, in our view, austerity has managed to deal with the twin deficit, but the currency reform unleashed inflation. Those unleashed inflation. So inflation has to be contained, and inflation is linked to the currency movement. So the elephant in the room is currency stabilization, and I'm glad that over the last month or so there's been some stability. But then it means that we need to keep the twin deficits under control, including the money supply, to de-link currency movements and currency volatility, price increases. So it's now high time, therefore, to move towards focusing on the microeconomy. That was macro, microeconomy. That's the agenda for 2020 within the TSP. So productivity, job creation become key pillars of what you like. Obviously, upgrading competitiveness. I'm pleased that we moved from number 155 or so globally to number 140 in the Environment for Doing Business rankings. That shows that we're making progress in competitiveness. So those are the pillars: are really productivity, competitive job creation, and then sustainable development and shared development. But focusing on this microeconomy of productivity requires us to do certain things. What we've had to do was then to work closer with the private sector in the financing of agriculture. This has it was necessary for us to do that, so as to really impact on that microeconomy. So what we're doing, we're providing guarantees to banks so they can fund commercial agriculture. We're also injecting liquidity into the system to banks to then fund agriculture. And now it's transparent, it's on the table. Banks do even a lot more than we do in terms of credit assessment. So we know for sure now that everything is on the table. And I'm very pleased, very, very pleased to note that in terms of the targets for command agriculture, that almost 80% of the farmers who were targeted have been contracted. So we're making very good progress indeed on a new model. It's really excellent progress. We talk to the banks, they tell us those are the archival figures that are out there. But also there's something we need to do. Given the drought, we need to climate-proof our agriculture. So investment in infrastructure for evacuation of water from dams is absolutely critical. That's why in the budget you find this large allocation for agriculture around the infrastructure investment. Because without this irrigation, then we are exposed to climate change, and we need to deal with that. So the fund is really focusing on this agriculture, in addition to supporting commercial agriculture, working with banks, and then the presidential input scheme, which we fund directly as a social protection mechanism. By doing that, the budget for that is 900 billion. That's what this is something that will outlay. We will do more in the 2020. So let me put agriculture aside. Then now, switching to other sectors. Now, in industry, again, we're proposing something new to support that micro aspect of industry as a driver of the economy. So we propose a guarantee scheme for industry to access credit from the financial system on the back of a government guarantee. So we're working on the modalities, but also to make sure that this is targeted at retailing, but also at trade finance. And also in trade finance, we've done more. We've introduced an export revolving fund that will impact both industry, but also agriculture in terms of horticulture, which in our view is low-hanging fruit. And we want to capitalize that export revolving fund, which basically is a trade finance fund to the tune of $2 million, partly for government sources, but also as partner, also for partner sources. But coming back to industry, this is a lower-hanging fruit in terms of supporting industry to retool, but also to develop new industries that are driven by research from our universities and innovation hubs. We'll also make sure that industry comes closer to the universities for the research-driven industrialization opportunities. Now, coming to tourism, again, we have a raft of incentives in the tourism sector for acquisition of vehicles, or buses, whatever needs to be done in that sector by the operators. We are supporting it so that they can again grow that sector. In the ICT sector, again, we're focused on making sure that e-government, being led by e-procurement, becomes the order of the day. This is again the low-hanging fruit. Also, we're supporting the National Data Center and a bit of budget for that. Again, you can feel that we're intervening at the microeconomy level. The mining sector is really a source of excitement for us. We're trying to build a $12 billion industry by year 2023, and it is being constructed as I speak, brick by brick, bottom line. The gold sector will become a $4 billion industry. The platinum sector, a $3 billion industry. The lithium sector, a $500 million industry. The diamond sector will be $1 billion industry. The iron and steel and chrome sector, another $1 billion. The hydrocarbons and CBN gas sector, another $1 billion. And then the other sectors were about $1.5 billion. So total $12 billion that we're expecting in this sector to achieve by year 2020. And the job of the budget, and this is what we've done, was to again to stimulate the sector and to make sure that the non-precious metal sector is also supported through access to capital, through MMCs. So no gold tends to be supported through Fidelity, and then diamonds, the have a diamond company taking care of that. But outside that, we need another structure. We'll put that in place, which is in a way that is similar to industry, that is similar to command agriculture. We've also lowered the royalties for the diamond sector from 15 to 10% because we want to stimulate. We don't want that to be the reason why there isn't additional investment in the sector. But also the royalty is now tax deductible, which is another issue that the industry is requesting. The construction sector, we need to improve the environment for doing business, access to permits, access to that is bottlenecks in the sector, and that we need to deal with. So we are colleagues focusing on microeconomy. That is how we deal with the productivity issues. Let me transition to directly to the issue of job creation, and particularly youth. I've never come across a more youth-friendly budget than this one. This is a truly people's budget, youth budget, if you ask me. We do a few things in the budget to deal with this. Some of you may be wondering why there is such a focus on the youth. We're trying to harness the demographic dividend. That's what we're trying to do. I can spend a whole hour just talking about demographic dividend. This is very, very important for us to do. So we have introduced these tax credit incentives where companies will get a rebate for employing a member of the youthful population for at least 12 months. And it should be an additional employee rather than a substitution. You want companies to fire older employees, then replace with youth, and then say, we employ the youth. No. I want you to add, because we're giving an incentive to add. But this is fantastic. So we really want to, looking for to this mechanism to work and support youth employment. We also have a venture capital fund, which we are going to capitalize in tune of 100 million. Although the venture capital fund cuts across age groups and sectors, we make sure that we ring-fence a portion to support startups, mainly by youthful individuals. We know that the youth are very good at coding, very strong in the ICT sector. So that's a sector that we tap. But then we'll also make sure we find these youth or individuals from the private incubation hubs, not just from the government. The private incubation hubs. We know all mutual running incubation hubs, so is Econet and others. They're all over the place. There's one also funded by India, Hawaii, and other development partners. We make sure that we hand them everywhere and support them, because we know that is the future. I don't know what happened. I asked Zimstats to find a member of youth who can develop an app for Zimstats. I'm sure someone will report back to me soon as how that project is going. So we work with Toko and supporting youth. Now we also launched the presidential youth entrepreneurship program, again to give impetus to this whole idea of supporting youth entrepreneurship, to create jobs, but also for them to create jobs for others. We're very, very serious about this issue. Now, let me transition to some of the incentives. Social protection first. You see, while we do this budget, we don't want to be this just to be a growth budget, a productivity budget. And then we forget that there are still members of our society that are just vulnerable due to drought, which is still present, and access to health, vagaries of inflation. We still have vulnerability out there. So our social protection budget allocation is quite large, and we believe that it touches on all the areas that ought to be covered. So every week, every day, we're distributing food in rural areas, in urban areas. As you know, for the first time, we're doing urban areas this year. Although we're still confined to Harare and Bulawayo, we're keen to expand to other sectors. So far, we're supporting easily about 1 million households, which is almost 6 million people. Our international partners are also supportive, and we really appreciate this. But this is an issue for us. So it's about food, cash transfers, about access to health, it's about the BEAM program for the education sector. And the list is long in terms of that social protection. We should not forget urban transportation. You see, the issue about ZUPCO it's not just a social protection issue. It's also about making sure that our cities work. For cities to function as drivers of growth, they need efficient public transportation system. So ZUPCO is not just about the subsidy, which is also good for social protection reasons. We're spending 40 million a month on just on the ZUPCO transportation subsidy. It's about efficient cities, cities that are able to move people around to wherever they want to go. It's part of urbanization, because our cities are a big driver of economic. And while I'm on cities, it's not surprising, therefore, that we continue to intervene in dealing with the water and sanitation issues in cities, whether it's Morton Jaffrey, whether it's Bonawe, whether it's Chakut, whether it's Gweru. We want to deal with this issue, and a good part of the budget is going to we'll use some of the devolution resources. And if you check in the budget, the devolution resources for 2020 are of the order of about $3 billion. That's a lot of dollars to spend. I hope they can spend it, but we're focused on making sure that local authorities and cities are well supported through the budget. There's a slew of incentives, colleague, that I could read them. We'll be here all day. Whether looking at the paint manufacturers rebate, the pharmaceutical manufacturers rebate is all in there. Powder, because we're short of milk, we have to allow powder importation. Clothing manufacturers rebate, luggage manufacturers rebate. It's all in there. These rebates are meant to really stimulate productivity at that microeconomic level. And again, I see something here on tourism, a rebate on duty on capital equipment, on motor vehicles for safari operators, on car hire companies, luxury coaches rather, on vehicles. So the list is long. There's no sector that is not covered. Now, the other thing that we did in order to stimulate demand, although it's micro-focused budget, the supply side budget, we're not forgetting the demand side. We didn't forget that. So what we did was we decided to raise the threshold in terms of income concession from 700 to 2,000. So if you earn 2,000 below, you don't pay any income tax. Now, then we did something else. We cut the corporate tax by 1%. We also cut VAT, which really links directly to consumption, by 0.5%. So if cutting VAT by 0.5% means that we are giving let me call it almost a donation, if I can put that way, subsidy of some of $500 million. That amounts to $500 million. The 1% cut in corporate tax is another $250 million. So those two cuts alone are taking us to almost to $800 million as a subsidy to the economy to drive the domestic demand side of the economy. I talked about the diamond sector. Then let me touch on something, again, social protection, but also it's a gender-sensitive issue, where again we've allocated 200 million Zimbabwean dollars for provision of free sanitary wear for vulnerable girls, especially in the rural areas, as well as again removing duty on importation of sanitary wear products. It's also raw material for making sanitary wear. So colleagues, I thought really I should just go over this so you can understand how we think, how we crafted the budget as we move towards completing the TSP part of our reform agenda, and then moving on to the 5-year plan, and then on to the second 5-year plan, then eventually the objectives of Vision 2030. Now, let me end maybe on another issue, which is the international re-engagement. We are actively engaged with international partners, both with the multilateral in terms of the IFIs, FDB, IMF, World Bank, all the money, and that's why we have a staff monitoring program which is ongoing, and that is part of the fabric for areas clearance. So pressing on it. We're also engaging with our bilateral partners, those who are in the Paris Club, those who are not in the Paris Club. They are all our bilateral partners. They've all supported us, and we thank them for their support. So that's also an additional pillar of our formal general budget. Let it be known that our thrust for the next 12 months is on productivity, is on job creation, is on building competitiveness and input substitution, and make sure that there is shared growth. Maybe one footnote on shared growth. One of the drivers of inclusive development is infrastructure. Very, very important. I know that the Chinese used to say that if you want to reduce poverty, build a road. It's still true. It's still true. You know, take any poor rural area, build a road, a tarred road, feeder roads. Trust me, in 5 years, everything about that rural area is going to change. This is what you call road economics. The feeder road makes sure that farmers can get to the market, children can get to school, mothers can get to the clinic. They connect the rural area to the big metropolis. You always create a road economy. Even those who live in the so-called poor area, they are even shy of putting up some shoddy structure. They start using bricks and roof tiles. Those are the facts. I've got a hard evidence of that. And then you find those with more money in the urban areas start buying land along that road, and land prices are going. That's road economy. So infrastructure is critical, and this budget is allocated quite a bit on infrastructure, including housing and not just roads. It's about the energy infrastructure. And I can go on regarding that shared and inclusive development. Let me stop here for now. I've said a lot, and we're happy to take questions. My colleagues are here, Deputy Minister, Clemens Shidua, PS, John Matanga. I think they should answer all the questions, then I have time to rest. Listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your articulate presentation. Colleagues, we have 45 minutes to grill this panel with all relevant questions. Let's keep them short and sharp, straight to the point. Let's not preach. Now we'll take 4 in each round, and then the panel would speak to those questions. So we're happy to start. Your name, which organization, if any, and then your question. Yes.
Effort in Secure SABC News. My question relates to the allocation of health budget for water sanitation. You say it is the second largest allocation, but with the current situation that Zimbabwe is facing, do you think it is adequate to meet the huge demands of the health sector currently?
Okay, thank you. Effort is the health budget adequate to meet the current needs? Yes.
Columbus Mavunga, VOA TV. Minister, you seem to be, yes, you seem to be happy about your progress so far. Are you happy with the health sector? My question would be, are you aware of the pre-Stone Age conditions under which mothers are giving birth in our moment? And also maybe just the second one might elect both to respond. Is the security under threat given the way we've been changed? It's the first time since 2000 that when you're going to the minister's press conference, you're subjected to such kind of security.
Thank you, Columbus. Are you happy with the Stone Age conditions under which mothers are giving birth, and also has the security level changed? They say they've been frisked in a more intrusive way. Next question. Yes.
My name is from my question to the Minister of following the 2020 national budget, an issue arose whereby the bilateral support figures which we issued vis-a-vis the ones which the Chinese say are the correct ones. Have you come to an understanding on which exactly
Thank you, Kunzi. It is asked about developmental aid from the People's Republic of China. And finally,
thank you. My name is Leopold Zimbabwe.com. My question is related to the cash injection last Monday. The bond coins were limited in 2018. Did you foresee the current situation where you would have to inject more bond coins like what happened last month. And also the scandal which rocked Econet CBZ when we injected cash. Are we going to get a name of who bought that money and when are we going to get if we are going to get it?
Okay, thank you. I think for this round, this is enough. Honorable Minister can share you feel the question and your channel if you want to.
So as I said, I have two individuals who are sitting up here with me. I'm sure they will jump in. So what I'll do, I'll just maybe pick a couple of questions and the rest I'll hand over to the PS and the Deputy Minister actually. Let me start off with the health sector budget. Are we satisfied that it is at the right level and so forth? You know what, this is an ongoing issue. You cannot solve it in one silver bullet in 1 year. It's an ongoing issue. We've done a lot in terms of revamping health infrastructure around the country, within the cities. So it's an ongoing issue, and a budget of almost $7 billion is quite a bit. People agree with me, but it's ongoing. It will take a few years for us to get to a level where we feel that it's offering good quality health services to everyone who needs health services. But I'll hand over the PS to fill in on that, because it's got some very specific issues. Then on the bilateral figures, that issue is closed. We have agreed, if you're asking specifically, there is no further conversation on that issue. Again, we appreciate all the support we have received from all our bilateral partners. China has done phenomenally well in supporting us, but that issue is closed. Thank you very much. Then on the cash injection issue, we foresee, this was always going to happen. Because there's a science to managing money supply. You always drip feed over time as the economy grows. So you know, at some point you have to inject additional cash. You may have to do more because certain things have been done, certain reforms have been implemented like we did. So you needed to inject more than was necessary. But we knew at some point that cash had to be injected. Now on the issue of scandal and so forth, the Reserve Bank is on top of this one. So at some point, they'll let us know as to how the culprits are being dealt with. It is entirely within their mandate when they are dealing with it now. And I'm pleased that they moved swiftly to deal with the issues of make sure the banks are investigated. I know that one of the banks is done, someone is cleared, and we move on. So that's also a good thing. But let me ask PS to jump in on health specifically, and also Deputy Chief too.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I will address the specific issue on the condition that you highlighted in the Parliament. I think we might actually be aware that through the Ministry of Health, the government has already started a very rapid establishment of Edith Opperman Maternity to make sure that we provide health facilities for delivering mothers that meet modern day standards. And the Treasury is working very closely with the Ministry of Health to ensure that all resources that are required are actually provided. But you may also have picked up as well from some of you guys in the media the equipment that was actually brought in from India about 4 months ago, that it has started being commissioned, and we had some of that equipment being commissioned in Pilo Hospital. And that's also state-of-the-art equipment that includes incubators, that include mobile X-ray machines, and all the other equipment that is actually required to run modern-day health facilities. So we are actually monitoring and working very closely with the Ministry of Health to ensure that supplies to the sector continue to come in. And as we speak, we are actually finalizing one another facility for 20 million that will see a lot of drugs coming into the country. We're starting from next month, over and above many other facilities that were there at the beginning of the year to bring in the necessary medicine and consumables that are required for the health sector. So there's quite a lot that we have been doing. But what I need to highlight is that there will always be isolated cases where we run out of bandages in one corner of the country. But that normally is not a reflection of government position to the situation. And some of it is actually administrative. And I know there was a very big story about bandages, but the reality of it, you don't need 100,000 to buy bandages. So sometimes it's just a matter of how, as government, administratively, through the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, do we work with the various facilities in schools to make sure that there are adequate books, to make sure that the desks are not broken, to make sure that if roofs are blown away because of the violent weather, they are quickly replaced. But sometimes what we then see, the isolated cases are the ones that seem to get more attention. But as government, we are very much on top of the situation within the health sector and within the education sector.
Yeah, let me also add on what my colleagues have said, especially with regards to the budget, that we allocated 6.5 billion in the health sector. And obviously we could have done more, but looking at the resources that we have, this is the best that we have done. But going forward, budgeting is a continuous process, and we will continue to prioritize the health sector. If you check our district hospitals, we have prioritized infrastructure development. We are looking at drugs, we are looking at sundries, and all this is in line with our agenda to say we would want to modernize our health services delivery. So our budget is looking at that, and we will continue to add more. Thank you.
One footnote is again the role of our partners. Because you know, for instance, if I'm going to sing out Mahuseka Hospital, which was built with assistance from China, and some of the drugs, equipment came from UAE. So again, as we work, we're quickly aware of this partnership with our partners, but also partnership with the private sector. We've actually done a PPP, public-private partnership of about 200 million, that will see us again revamp infrastructure within the urban areas, but also rural areas. You'll hear more about this project going forward. So a lot is being done in the health sector, facilities and infrastructure. I thought as well, some of you elected some of your relatives, I hope that not just your relatives, for applications for nurses. It was yesterday's paper. You can apply online. I think it was 700 nurses and so forth. Today, if we go into teaching the education sector, we are again given authority for hiring of 5,000 teachers. It's in today's newspaper, you know. So again, it's not just infrastructure, the consumables, the equipment, it's also the human capital that we are continuing to upgrade. More people are needed, more nurses are needed, more science teachers and more maths teachers are needed, especially in rural schools. We're doing all of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and your panel. We are going to the next round. We will probably end up with 3 rounds. I'm looking at our time. So let's go for it again. Somebody who hasn't spoken yet. Yes. Oh, sorry. There's a question which has not been answered. Are we at a state of heightened security alertness because they say they've been frisked intrusively?
Oh, no, this is normal security protocol. We don't know what's coming here. It's normal. Very normal. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Obviously, I don't see the number not wearing their badges. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Happiness. Just 2 issues of concern. First one being the expansionary budget that you presented. If there's going to be any unbudgeted expenditure in 2020, that's going to fuel inflation. So I want you to find out what measures you've put in place. Obviously, you're saying reserve target, you're targeting reserve money, tighter reserve. Okay, I'm twisting my words.
But I hear you well.
You hear what I'm trying to say. Obviously, you're doing that, but by your own admission in the budget, you actually said you had failed to meet those targets, and it's most likely that inflation is going to go up in 2020. than what it is currently. And then the second issue is on the insurance sector. Surely a hike of 15 times is not reasonable, and at a short notice as well. That will almost
the
like
capital requirements.
the capital requirements. That will like destroy the insurance sector as a whole. Then thirdly, the ICA's guidelines recommended the CPI index to be used, but then you banned it. So how is that going to play out?
No,
because
I
you banned the annual inflation are banned. So till February 2020, how is that going to play out? Because most of these guys are going to start reporting in November, and which index will they use? Are they going to phone Zimbabwean directly? If they do that, then we might as well start publishing the annual figures.
Thank you. Happiness asked 3 questions. I think you got them. One is the expansionary budget, insurance sector, you hiked 15 times, and then the CPI panic. Yes.
Minister, I'm collaborating with the Sunday now. My question is on the apparel markets. It appears that at a policy level, there seems to be no commitment to deal with the illegal money changes, because they've gone haywire. And I think since 2008, this is the worst that we've seen. I want to understand what is your strategy to deal with the apparel market, and do you think there's enough enforcement in terms of the police? Are they educated enough to deal with economic crimes?
Thank you. Could I ask about illegal money changers and change money? It says there appears to be no political commitment to curtail their activities if they are worst in 11 years. Next one.
My name is Conrad. You talked about climate-proof agriculture, and you allocated 400-something million, which is about 26 million US towards.
I prefer to think in dollars.
In dollars. Still fine. 422 million towards agriculture. Do you think this, towards irrigation specifically, do you think this is enough to take us to a better stage given the droughts? Because I see a contradiction in the emphasis about the impact of the drought, and yet the allocation doesn't seem to match.
Thank you. Yeah, Kunda says you don't seem to have allocated enough to irrigation. Correct, you haven't allocated enough to irrigation particularly. I think the final one. I know somebody different. Yes.
My name is Peter. Yes, you spoke about the sundries and other machines that are required to the hospitals, but you did not touch on the issue of the doctors who are not there, and of course what is happening in the environment.
Okay, thank you. Rutendo says we heard about the sundries and equipment. How about the doctors? I think these are the final questions in this round. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much again for a very good round of questions. On the questions of happiness, I'll deal with 2 of those. On the unbudgeted expenses, expenditure rather, expansionary budget and so forth. When we meet our targets, or again we'll have shocks. Let me start with the 2019 budget. Even with the kind of shocks that I referred to, some of the targets we may have missed here and there. Overall, we will be on target. We've got budget deficit of 4% of GDP. We are determined. We will be on target. So when you look back after December 2019, you will find that actually we met our targets even with the blips here and there. It's normal, colleagues. You know, when you've got a drought, when you've got a cyclone, you are reforming and you're reforming everything. Something is bound to be out of kilter. It can't be that everything is so smooth. It's bound to happen. So don't be surprised by that. But also, we're determined to make sure that things come back. Now, so what are we targeting for 2020? We're targeting a budget deficit of about 1.5% of GDP, which is basically almost a balanced budget. We're determined to meet that target, with or without any blips elsewhere. We're determined. I think as long as we can walk the talk of that target as a key target, we are good. Then on the insurance sector, I'll leave that for the peers. But on inflation, I did not ban inflation. What we did, that we said that, look, the year-on-year inflation the methodology is inconsistent because the currency regimes are different. We are comparing a US dollar regime, which is pre-February 20th, 2019, to a Zimbabwe dollar regime post that date. We've done this before. We are probably the leaders in it in the world now. We did it in 2009. There's nothing new. So you just wait 2 more months, you get your year-on-year inflation when we get to February. There's no problem.
No, but
We still
Sorry.
no,
Okay,
there's no challenge.
let the minister.
There's no challenge. There is month-on-month inflation, and the accounting rules allow for the use of month-on-month inflation indices. The accountants know this. They have no problem. They know this. So there's no challenge at all. There's no difficulty at all. We expect them to do their inflation just accounting on the back of those month-on-month figures. Then coming to, was it a question from Mujit regarding, so that we're not tough enough on legal money changers and so forth. I think I'll leave that to Deputy Minister Chitowa. But let me just start with the insurance one, PS, because that was asked earlier by others.
I think it's always very important to have a strong financial system, which is banking, which is insurance, and others supporting financial institutions. And what makes them strong is their capitalization. And I think there isn't any shock to the market if you look at the fact that most of their assets have also revalued in line with the market development. And we had actually done a prior research and engagement with the industry before we reviewed the minimal capital requirement. So we believe that it is important for us to have a strong insurance industry, and they will be able to meet the new capital requirement because they've also revalued most of their assets.
Yeah, thank you so much. The question from the Sunday ma'am, which is on the power market and the legal money changers. What I would want to state is government is committed to the use of the Zimbabwe dollar as the unit of exchange, as the main currency that we should use for our transactions. But if we check especially the movements of the prices, there is indexation of prices against the exchange rate, such that even if you look at our inflation rate at the moment, our inflation rate at the moment is now being driven by expected inflation, it is being driven by expected movements in the power market rate. And now we are saying, what are we doing as the government? What is just needed is all the laws that are supposed to guide the operations of economic agents are in place. What is just needed on our part is compliance and enforcement. But just to give you a bit of what we are working on at the moment, we are all aware that most of the people who buy money from the power markets, they go out to buy goods. And then they will come back with their goods. But what we should do as a government, which is what we are working on now, is to refine the policy on saying we have got designated commercial banks where we get our money freely from our nostro accounts. But when you are coming back, before you declare the goods, you first of all declare the official source of foreign currency. So the moment you declare the official source of foreign currency, in the event that you are not able to declare the official source of foreign currency, you forfeit whatever you have to the state. So this will deal with black market operations. Thank you.
You just got your headlights.
Irrigation.
Yes.
So now I will respond to Dr. then hand over to the Now look, I think we are not the competent ministry to comment on that. Suffice to say that we are working closely with the Ministry of Health to make sure that the adequate and sustainable resources as required by the doctors are provided. Earlier on this morning, I was actually in conversation with the minister in line with the measures to actually ensure that we provide the adequate accommodation. There are measures that we are taking to provide accommodation to all the doctors. That's what I was in discussion with the minister earlier this morning. But in terms of the other issues, when they will go back to work, what is happening, I think it's better for my counterpart, Secretary for Health, or the Minister of Health to comment on those issues. But we are engaging because we provide the resources.
Just two additional points on the, first of all, response to Conrad's question regarding the resources allocated to agriculture, just over 400 million. Is this enough? Is this adequate? We have a two-pronged approach to financing irrigation. One is direct resources from government. The other is resources from partners, as well as resources from borrowing. If I said two, it's actually three. So says there's a fourth one. It's just reminding me, the private sector is invited to receive land, provided they are productive, around Tokyo Mukosi area, large body of water. Water needs to be evacuated, they need to irrigate. So they're also invited. So there are many ways in which we're trying to carve this thing and attack it. The resources by government is out there, 400 million, but we expect these other entities to also contribute to this issue. Also, Conrad, this is a multi-year issue. You cannot deal with it in 1 year. So this year we do something, next year we follow up, third year, fourth year, until we get to a level where most of the water has been evacuated. Nick, let me take this opportunity as well, just one issue which I didn't do when I was initially giving a presentation, which is something that we announced the cabinet from cabinet briefings last week. We highlighted in yesterday's briefing, which is around allowing those with free funds and other funds to bring in grains, which is maize grain, maize meal, and wheat flour. That you can do that with immediate effect. We've removed duties, so you can import free and make sure that when the festive season, well, it's upon us already, there's enough food for you and your family to consume. So we'll be, placing wheat flour, for instance, on the Open General Import License System, or GIL, with immediate effect, so that we can increase the supply of flour. And on the duties, again, at the risk of repeating, we are removing all the duties. They're all being zero rated for flour, as well as maize and maize. And then what we'll then try to do going forward is then to cushion, through subsidies, by targeted subsidies, again at the middle level, at the wheat flour level, and maybe even cooking oil, who knows? But we see salt level, but it is targeted. We're just perfecting some kind of voucher system, because maybe that's how we best do it, to make sure that only those who are targeted for benefiting from these subsidies can benefit. So you will hear more on this program as we go forward, but we won't have to wait too long, by the way, for that, because we need to put this in place very, very quickly, so that those more vulnerable can enjoy subsidy, I think.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now we got one more round, if you can indulge them. One last round. Somebody who hasn't spoken before, somebody who hasn't asked a question. We'll stand right. Blue.
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Please just allow me to take a bit back on some issues that I strongly feel they need clarification, and then I'll ask also one or two questions. I think the first question which we all needed clarification came from the guy from New Zimbabwe, where he asked you about the issue on the Chinese deal. You're saying that it is closed, but you don't know. Your document and your statement that you published doesn't say any details on what really transpired over that deal.
Was the figure understated or not? I think we need to understand what did you guys agree with the Chinese? That you say now that you've understood and you've agreed, we need to know what have you agreed and how have you closed that issue as far as it's concerned. Taking you back as well, I thought maybe you've spoken about this before on the issue of currency. I just need to understand, Honorable Minister.
Issue of what?
Currencies. On the new currency that you introduced. I need to understand something. Why are we having more notes in this hyperinflationary environment? And why are we having a repetition of the same $2 and the $5 which are now coming in the coins? Why are you having $2 coins when we already have $2 notes already in the system? I need to fully understand. Is this in any way of preparing for a new currency that is coming through? And if at all is coming, when is it coming? New currency?
You already have a currency. I hear you say, carry on.
Okay, I think it's done. Oh, you have got another one?
No, last one. I just need to understand, you seem to have done very well in subsidizing issues of wheat and other products. Why are we still having a problem, a big national problem on issues of fuel? Why are we not using the same approach? How come so a few people were allowed to use their free funds to import fuel in Zimbabwe? Why are we not using the same methodology to make sure that people with free funds come through, bring in fuel on a subsidized or less reduced duty, and then we do away with this whole fuel problem? What are we really protecting? Why are we not
Short and sharp. Thank you very much. Three-pronged question. You said the issue is closed, but we don't know what we have closed. And why are we having new $2 coins at the same time we're having $2 notes, new $2 notes? And why are we struggling for fuel? Why are you not liberalizing so that those with free funds can procure their own fuel? Why are we having this in wheat and maize and other corn products rather than fuel? Captured one?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, Cap one.
Okay. My name is Sadat.
Who?
Sadat.
Sadat, yeah.
I know you introduced the new currency and it's all fine to put more money into the system, but it's common knowledge that the use or acceptance of any money is a matter of trust and confidence from the generality of people. What are you doing, or what do you think the banks need to do to gain the trust of the people so that money goes around in the official sectors?
Okay, you introduce money, but money is a matter of confidence. What should the banks do to infuse confidence into the populace? Okay, that is from Sadat.
Okay.
What's his name? Sadat.
Okay.
Yes, go on.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, my name is Alois. I'm from Zimbabwe.com. Minister, what I would like to hear from you is what your understanding is from what is transpiring in the markets. What we see is a situation where the markets have rejected the local currency. As we are speaking right now, most colleagues here will agree with me that they are paying rent house in US dollars. Landlords are demanding rent house to pay it in US dollars. Prices are indexed against the US dollar. So did you see light at the end of this time?
Thank you, Alois. Alois says there are people committing crimes there. So what can we do about criminals? That's much his question. But crimes regarding, with particular regard to the issue of charging in US dollar, is perceives that as a rejection of our local currency. Two more. We're in an indulgent mood. Take remark. Any last? We will hear up to anything else will be closed. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Again, colleagues, thank you for that round of questions. Starting again with the bilateral figures for the aid for China. The issue really was about the accounting approach, the accounting systems, and we both sides have agreed on the best way to do that accounting, and we agreed on the figures. That's why I said the issue is closed. So if I were you, I wouldn't really bother with this issue too much. If I were you, we have very good partners with China. We have nothing to worry about. Then in the issue of currency, I just want to say one thing, then I will hand over to PS now to deal with the currency. I'm trying to distribute the currency law deliberately. On the issue of currency, it is not correct, it is not true that the local currency has been rejected. Those are the facts. By dinner, I swear. Those are the facts. So it's not true that it's been rejected. Number two, it's not also easy to de-dollarize. There are too few cases around the world where they de-dollarize successfully. Even you struggle to think about prices for your vegetables that you are growing and trying to sell in your spare time without thinking US dollars. Why? You have just come out of a US dollar regime. It's too close. It's normal. It's not abnormal. It's a process. So, but it is not correct to say that the local currency is being rejected. Actually, it's being embraced substantially. And even some of the scandals we talked about, that's actually a sign that that it is being embraced. Someone wants it, but wants to obtain it through illegal means or by breaking rules. On the VC fund, then I'll hand over to colleagues. On the VC fund, the modalities are being put in place. We're very excited that we're able to put resources aside for this, to support startups, to support retooling, to support expansion of small to medium scale enterprises. It will also just benefit the youth. But also we hope, and we're going to cajole the private sector to join us, so that in the end, so that when you look back 3 years back, the VC fund will really be a PPP, public-private partnership with the government and some of the pension fund and insurance companies, the private sector, in short. So, please.
Look, I think anyone at the moment can actually go to the interbank market, access foreign currency, and import fuel, because we have completely removed all subsidies on fuel. So nothing stops a fuel company approaching their bank today, getting the foreign currency, and bringing the fuel without actually going to the Reserve Bank. I think that that's one issue that we actually need to now address in this economy, because there's too much dependence on government by the corporate sector in Zimbabwe. But we've removed that dependence on fuel, we have removed that dependence on electricity, and with the statement the minister has just issued, we've also now removed that dependence on millers for maize meal and for wheat flour. Because everyone used to wait for government to bring in the maize, to bring in the wheat, and for the corporates to then go to GMB and buy the maize at subsidized price and then sell at a much higher price. But we've actually taken away all those arbitrage opportunities, and everyone is now, it's a very open and free market. Coming on to the issue of currency and say why the twos, why the five, I think it's just an issue of the visibility. There are actually other larger denominations that are on the way, but you see, you also want to manage money supplies. My minister has already indicated. You don't start by bringing in $500 notes and throw in 1 billion of that money into the market. So we know that at the moment that the money that is in the market is not adequate to meet demand, and hence the long queues, and hence some of the trade that we've seen. But that will be for a very limited time, and it will be addressed. The coins, the reality is that those coins have already been minted. So rather than throwing them away, when we've got a shortage of notes, we just decided that, look, let's bring them so that they will work alongside the new $2 note and $5 note while we bring in the bigger denomination. And as we bring in the bigger denomination, you will see that some of the gold notes and even some of those coins will start to be withdrawn from the market. And I think let me highlight one last point. I think we are very much aware of the requirements of how much you have to provide for health, how much you have to provide for education. But we have to understand that this economy has gone almost 15 years of underinvestment and no investment. And we cannot address that in one budget. My colleagues who were here before us will tell you that over the course of the past decade, 97% of the budget was going to recurrent expenditure. 35% of our budget has gone to capital expenditure, to do the dams, to do the roads, to do the hospitals, we've been building schools. So I think we've got a whole host of what we've been able to do. But it will never be completed in one budget, in two budgets, or in three budgets. It becomes a matter of prioritization, and we are trying to see where do we prioritize the resources that we have following at least 2 decades of no investment and 2 decades of underinvestment.